Good morning, guys. Hi there. I am Lori Winslow, and I am with Rainer Shine Chalk Design. This morning, I have another fun project for us. A new transfer to me, and just so you can see it. Hope anchors the soul. I really love the motif. I love the idea behind it, the thought behind it. So we are going to use this large frame from Chalk Couture. So I'm not going to have to do anything to prep my frame. It's going to be ready to go. As you can see, it pretty much fits exactly in our frame. If you're here this morning, thanks for joining me. If you're watching on replay, thanks for watching. All right, so let's get started. But before we get started on chalking, I was looking at I was imagining, I guess I'd say, what the finished product was going to look like. And I couldn't help but think that we needed some kind of embellishment, possibly. I'm not sure yet, but I'm thinking it might be nice to have some kind of embellishment. And I didn't think a bow was quite right, but I did think something nautical might be kind of cool. So I was playing around with rope and trying to see what I could come up with that might be kind of a cool accent, possibly on the frame. I'm thinking maybe up at the top having this kind of nautical looking rope, and I would just tack it on lightly with probably some low temp hot glue. And I also played around with the idea of a larger one, same exact design, but maybe have that for the longer side. So I'm going to show you how I made this little embellishment. I'll walk you through the steps of that first. Good morning, Francis. How are you? Glad you're here this morning. Thanks for joining me. So I'm going to show you how I made this kind of nautical looking embellishment for my frame this morning. So I'll give you a close-up again of what this looks like. I just kind of played around with some rope and some ideas, and thought I would give that a try. So I decided I wanted my embellishment. I'm going to turn you down a little bit so you can see. Because my frame size, I decided that I would like it to be about 12 inches. The small one would be about 12 inches long. So I just used my measurements here on my workstation, and so what that meant was that I needed a 6-inch piece of rope doubled back. So that would be 12 inches, and I need 2 of those for each side. Okay. If you have questions, please feel free to ask. So I'm going to cut 4 pieces of this jute, and it's not the tiny stuff. I think it would look cool if it was a little bit heavier jute. This is what I had on hand. So I'm going to cut 4 of these. And then I'll show you how I put them together. I thought it looked a little bit, nautical, looking for our piece. I'm going to scoot you just a little bit more. All right. So I took 2 pieces and turned them this way. And then I took 2 pieces and turned them this way. So I'm going to insert these 2 like this. And then I'm going to take these 2 tails, the ends of the rope, and push them in like that. So now I have Oops, I think I might have taken it out. So now I have, when I pull, you know you're on the right track when you pull and they both start pulling together. Can you guys see that okay? All right, and then as you see, it just pulls these ends together. We're getting close to looking like our finished product. And of course you can make this tighter or looser as you like. My jute is a little rough. It's kind of a rough. So I do have some pieces that I did trim this up a little bit. I trimmed out some of the loose jute pieces so it would look a little cleaner. Obviously you could do this with any kind of rope. My frame is white, so I didn't really want to use white rope, but that was kind of the picture in my head, was white rope. But I would probably have to do something different with my frame. And I like my frame the way it is. So I'm going to try to use brown rope as an embellishment. Alright, then I just cut up some little pieces, and those are going to be my supports that go across the ends, and these are hot glued together so that they're nice and sturdy. I did put some beads of hot glue on the back of my rope too, so that it holds together nicely. It's not coming apart. Okay, and then I want to look at my knot and see which side do I think looks the best. Has the cleaner, that's what I did anyway. I looked to see which had the kind of the cleaner side. And I kind of like this one. I like the way these lay flat. And I think I can make these lay flat over here. So I think I'll go with those. So I want my piece that's on the front, I want it to, this is going to be the flat side, and the other side is where I'm going to glue the back. So keep track of which side you want to be the front and which side you want to be the back. So I'm going to start by flattening these out, and I want to make sure I'm still on my mark. I want a 12-inch piece total, so my knot needs to be on the 6. So I took my hot glue gun and I just put a little bead of glue about the length of my rope. You don't want it to be too much more than that, or your glue will harden and you won't be able to turn it over. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to glue that right on my mark. I'm going to get my little finger protector on. Make sure you use those finger protectors. Alright, so I have pressed that down. So I've just glued a little piece of my jute so that I can fold that back and make a nice finished look. So I put 2 on each side. So I'll put another piece of jute here. And these are just little scrap pieces of jute. They're just tiny little pieces. It doesn't take very much for this project. What was that? 4 pieces of 12 inches. So a 4-foot piece of jute. I'm glad you're here with me this morning, Francis. How are things in Oklahoma? Is your weather staying decent? Have you guys had a lot of storms? I know springtime storms are always part of Oklahoma weather. I grew up in Oklahoma, so that's part of my history. Oklahoma weather. In the spring especially. Fall too sometimes. Pretty frequently. Spring and summer though. Lots of tornadoes. Lots of crazy Oklahoma weather. Alright, so I'm just doing the same thing on this side. I'm just going to press down. Very windy, no storms. Okay. That's definitely Oklahoma weather too. The wind. Okay, so I'm at this point. I have 2 little pieces tacked on each end, and hasn't been as bad a spring. Good. Not such a bad spring for weather. Good. It seems like the weather patterns are kind of changing, so I'm glad you guys have had a nice spring and not a nasty spring. Okay, so now I'm just going to fold. I've turned the whole piece over, and I'm going to fold these little pieces back. Try to get both of them and then hold them down. And I want to make them nice and tight so that as it goes around, my little piece isn't, oops, got to figure out how to do this. It's the screen's reversed, so my left and right are backwards. I want it to be a nice looking piece so that when it lays down, it looks nice. It'll look nice on my frame. Okay, so I glued that side down. I'm going to trim up these edges and get them away from the side so it doesn't get too bulky. So I trim them short so that when I bring this piece over, it's not bumping into the other edge of the jute. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Well, I hope you had a good weekend. Oh, actually it wasn't a weekend, was it? I spent a couple of days with my grandkids, and in my brain I usually spend a weekend with them, but it wasn't a weekend, was it? I spent Sunday until Tuesday with my grandkids, and it's always so much fun to hang out with them and remember what life was like with little guys in the house. Everything's exciting, everything's new and fresh. It's one of the reasons I love to teach kindergarten as well, is because they just have so much excitement and enthusiasm for everything that we do. Okay, so now I have my end piece, and I think it looks nice and neat, and everything is flat towards my knot. So I'm going to trim off these little edges. Now you could do that however you want. I left a little bit of a tail. You could trim right up to the edge and that would look nice as well. Or you could add more pieces here if you wanted to. Okay, so then I'm going to come down here, do the same thing. I'll try to do that a little quicker without so much explanation since you've seen it once. But if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments, and if I don't see them right now, I'll come back and answer them. I always try to answer you guys' questions so you kind of know what's going on. And I know sometimes it's hard to see what I'm doing because sometimes my hands are in the way. Okay, nice and flat. Trim off that excess. All right, and like I said, these are just embellishments that I think I'm going to use on my frame. I think the piece itself is, I think it can stand alone, but it just seemed like it was going to be a little bare. So I kind of like the idea of having something, some kind of accent, but we'll see when we're all finished if we think we need it or not. You guys can definitely let me know if you think the accent should be on it or not. But I had fun kind of figuring out how to make this work. Oh, thanks for letting me know that you can see. Thank you. I did find a little lighting setting on my on my camera, so I think the lighting is just a touch better than it had been. All right, now trim this up. I did get a little sloppy with the glue there, but the nice thing is that's on the back side, so you won't see it. Okay, so this is our finished side. And as you can see, this side likes to lay flat, but this side kind of likes to group together. So I am going to put that glue, a little bit of glue along the back so that both sides want to stay flat, nice. And so what I did was I just kind of held it with my hand and I just kind of ran a zigzag bead of glue across the whole back just to give it some reinforcement, and I'll do it to this side as well. It looks like it's tending to want to kind of open up, and I really want the jute to be together. That's my design. Anyway, I'm gonna push these together while it sets up. Try to keep them closer together. And of course I try to glue myself to the thing. Good morning, Christy. Thanks for coming and joining us. So we are going to do a project with an anchor. My transfer has an anchor and it says "Hope anchors the soul." And we are working right now on a couple of embellishments. So good morning, Rita. Thanks for joining. So I thought my frame looked kind of plain and I thought I might want some embellishment. So I looked around and kind of saw something like this and then played around with the rope till I got something I liked the look of. So I just went through the steps of how to create that. If you missed it, feel free to go back and watch the replay. It's pretty simple though. If you look at it carefully, you can probably figure out how to put it together. Okay, so I have two of the shorter, these are 12-inch, essentially 12-inch versions of my embellishments. I did make a bigger size to be the same length as the sides of my frame. So I have a pretty big frame for this project. My transfer is pretty large. So, but I did not put glue on the back of this one yet. So I think I'm going to add some glue for stability. I don't know that we want this embellishment all the way up and down the sides, but we'll take a look at it. And if we decide we want it, we can use it. You guys are going to have to help me decide if it needs embellishment or not. And I think I can tack it on with just some not super hot glue. Use the cool temp gun. And then I think I could take it off of the frame if I use that, if I decide I don't like it, or if I want to change it out, which is the beauty, of course, of this chalk product, is that it can be changed. Last night was my granddaughter's, she had her final meeting with her kindergarten class, and she goes to a little private school, and so she took my sign that I made last day of kindergarten, and they took pictures of her. So I had my model for my sign, so I'll probably ask her parents if I can put that picture up on my page here. Okay, so I've just run a bead of glue, kind of zigzagged across so that these pieces will hold together. As you can see, it looks nice when it's when the rope all holds together and it's flat. So that's what that bead of glue is going to do for us. It works pretty well. Just running that zigzag just reinforces those pieces of jute to stay together. So I'm just using small cord jute, but you could change the way it looks. Good morning, Shannon. Glad you're here. You could change the way the project looks if you used a bigger jute or even white rope. My frame is white, so I didn't want to use white rope. Okay, so this is our larger embellishment, and that's what it looks like. And it's holding together pretty well. I did put a little bit of glue under the rope, under these loops on my other ones, so that probably needs to happen too. So I will put a little bit under there, just so when you're picking it up and moving it, you're not accidentally slipping those pieces around. You want it to hold together. But anyway, it's a pretty simple embellishment, and I'm excited to see the whole thing together and see how it looks. Okay, I'm going to set this aside. We'll let it dry. I didn't make 2 of those, but if we decide we really like it, I'll make another one. But I think you get the idea of how to make that. So I'll set these things aside, and we'll get ready to chalk. Now, my piece is very large this morning, so it's going to take up most of my table. If you guys can't see, please let me know, and I will try to move some things around. So we have my large frame. It is a Chalk Couture board, so it won't need to be, I won't have to do not chalking. I won't have to do waxing on it. Sorry about that. I moved my camera by accident. I am going to get some of the dust off of it. It's been sitting here with all this jute falling on it. So I have this is my transfer this morning. It's a pretty large transfer. Let's see. It is, my frame's so big it's taking up my whole space for measuring. Let's see. So this one is 12 by 17 or 18. Yeah, about 18. So 12 by 18. So that tells you this frame, the opening is just about perfect for this transfer. So I think it's an awesome transfer. We do have several Bible verses in our stock. So if you like to make inspirational things like that, if you like having those reminders on the wall, we do have some of those. And I'll be doing some of those this week. I have a few projects using those. So this is how our transfers come. They're just in this nice plastic sleeve. You can put them back in those sleeves. I have just a piece of a box that came, not a box, but a big envelope that I just cut part of it off, and it gives me a place to set these tall ones inside of, so they're protected. All right, so we have our super big transfer. So I'm going to handle this big transfer by, I'm going to paste the top part of the anchor, and I'm going to paste the bottom part of the anchor. And I'm going to use, this is called Storm. So it's kind of a darker gray. I'm going to use that for the anchor. And then for the words, I really want them to pop off of my black, so I'm going to use the Couture Teal for the words. So we'll see how that goes. Like I said, it is a very big transfer, so the first thing I'm going to do is chalk these 2 pieces, and then I'm going to peel it back and let it dry so that my chalk paste doesn't dry inside my screen on the project itself. If it dries, then it can, if it dries like that inside the screen, it can pull the paint up. So you kind of have to plan out how you're going to do these bigger transfers. The nice thing is centering it up in the frame will be easy because it is the exact same size as my frame. Or I think it shall be easy. We'll see, won't we, how easy it is. All right, so I have my backer, and I'll put that off to the side. I have my sticky transfer. I do need to fuzz it, even though this is a Chalk Couture board. It is a brand new transfer, so it's going to need some fuzz. Even an old transfer will need fuzz when you have a a smooth surface like that. So I'm just using 2 of my big fuzzing cloths and get some fuzz on there and lift it up. I don't know if you can see that, but it definitely picks up the fuzz, and that's okay if it has big pieces of fuzz, as long as they're not in your silkscreen area. If they're in your silkscreen area, then you might want to clean that off before you chalk over that. Good morning, Carol. Thanks for joining us. So I have a really fun transfer today. I'm excited about this one. I'm excited about seeing what it looks like on this big frame, finished and complete. All right, I'll fuzz it one more time. Actually, I think I'll pull this back a little bit, overlap that space. We kind of have this border here where it's not going to be fuzzy. And I'll put it back over. Anybody have anything exciting happening today? Anything going on good and fun? I'm resting today. I had my grandkids for the past 2.5 days and I came home exhausted. Good exhausted, of course, because they're wonderful. But I was tired, for sure. I slept well last night. And all right, so we're just gonna move this around. As you can see, it will move around on the on the chalkboard. If you get the right pressure, it'll move around. I think that's pretty good. I don't think it's gonna be, I see it's off a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna be that noticeable to the eye that it's, I'm trying to take a look at it to see if it looks, I don't want my anchor looking like it's tipping, but I don't think it looks too badly. Okay, so here we have, so I just want to make sure I'm going to make sure that silk transfer is down really well. And like I said, I'm going to chalk these 2 parts of the anchor first, and I will peel it back and I will dry it. And then I will work on the lettering in the middle so that my chalk doesn't dry inside my silk screen while I'm doing this one, because then when I pull it up, it's going to pull away a lot of that chalk. I haven't used the Storm yet, so this is how it comes. It's new container. I've been wanting to have the Storm. I have Greige, which is kind of a play on gray and beige. And as you can see, it looks pretty dry. So I'm gonna get my chalk ready by adding a couple of mists of water. I'll get my stir stick and I will stir it up. Yeah, it's definitely dry, but that's okay. It's a natural, our chalk is a natural chalk product, and chalk is dry, all right? So it's natural that it would be a little dry. And I will just add some water and just keep mixing and stirring until I get it to the consistency that I want. You basically want a yogurt-like consistency. So when you pull up your stir stick, you want it to run off in a bead, like kind of like a stiff icing. You don't want it to be a super thin icing. We don't want that paste to go seep under our transfer. If you've used stencils before, you know the tricky part of that is, getting your paint to the right consistency. If you're really using a stencil, you use a dauber, right? And you don't use very much paint. This isn't paint, it's paste. But you get it to the right consistency of yogurt, and you can move it across this board and it gives you a great crisp finish. I just love the way that these transfers make the lettering and everything look. It's just so crisp and clean. Well, thank you guys for joining me. I hit 100 followers yesterday, so thank you guys for sharing and watching the videos, all of those things, liking my page, following my page. All of those things really help me get out to other people so that they can see. Hi Jen, good morning. Thanks for joining me. Nice of you guys to come see what's happening. Alright, so I have this really big transfer to work on this morning, and I have some really dry paste. So, sorry about that. I could have fudged a little bit and had this prepped. But it's important, I guess, if you guys get the chalk, that you can see that it does tend to dry out. It's chalk. But you can just add distilled water and it will get to the consistency you want it to. Now, the bad thing about having to add so much water all at one time like this is that this is going to be a lot better to use tomorrow after this water is absorbed. Rita says she hasn't seen anything done with chalk. Yeah, it's a really cool product. It has the look of chalk when you take it off, when you take the transfer off, but it's the great part is that it's permanent in that you're not going to be able to wipe it off with your hand, but it's not permanent in that when I want my board back and I want to put something different on, I can just spray it with some water and scrub it, and it will come right off the board. So it makes it nice for buying, good size frames that cost a little more than a small surface, because you can change it. You can change it seasonally. You can just change it, if you're someone who likes to rearrange your furniture, you like to rearrange your pictures, then you can totally change it out. Or you can just have one thing that you like to change out. I don't want to change all my pictures, and I don't want to change all my furniture, but I know some people do. All right. We're still at a pretty thick consistency. Probably should have checked this one out. I just received this paste, and it's a little thick. So it would have been better if I had checked it out last night, and it would have had time to absorb this water. But I don't think it's going to. I haven't had really bad problems with my chalk not working. Occasionally it'll give me a little bit of problem, but the nice thing is I can, if I decide I don't like the way it looks, I can change it and fix it. All right, so I'm going to go with that. It's not running like a bead, but I don't think it will right now. It needs to absorb some of that water, but I still think it'll be fine for this project. It's thin enough. All right, so I am going to add, I'm going to work on the anchor right now, so I'm using this Storm color. And this is a big transfer. So I'm going to need more paste than I usually do, but it's still not very much when you consider the size of my container. So I'm going to use my squeegee, and I'm going to go over my product, or over my silkscreen transfer, and it seems like the chalk is flowing really well. It's not lumpy. That's one thing you don't want, is you don't want your paste to get lumpy. You don't want it lumpy on your transfer. Put all my extra back in there. I'll save it for the next project. And it really is this simple. I remember when I watched for the first time, I thought, yeah, it's kind of like, I thought it would be like the fair. You watch those guys use the mop and, you're like, oh, that's the coolest mop. And then you get that mop home and you're like, yeah, this isn't the coolest mop. That guy just really knew how to do this. But this is not like that. It is as simple as it looks. You are really just putting it on and then squeegeeing it off, just like any squeegee you've ever used. Even if you've never used a squeegee, you know the idea of just keeping it flat. And then this is almost foolproof, because now as I lift up my transfer, I want to let my paint dry, or my paste dry. And as I lift up the transfer, if I don't like a spot, I can just go back and fix it. So now this is made with some little marks inside of it, the transfer has. And I see a little smudge there, so I'm going to lay it back down. And I'm going to put just a little bit of paste, and I'm going to go over that little spot that I didn't like. It wasn't a nice print. We fixed that. So as I pull it up, I can always push it back down and fix any little smudge or spot that I don't like the look of. Alright, so we have a really nice transfer. So I'm going to grab my dryer, and I'm going to hit it with just a little bit of heat, and it'll dry really quickly. Uh-oh, I'm going to have to lift my dryer cord was wrapped around the camera. Sorry about that. Alright, so I'm going to dry it. I want to dry it so that when I lay it back down, it's not going to bother my design. I'm going to do the same up here, because I don't want my silk screen and my chalk, I don't want my chalk to dry in my silk screen. And I do the same thing. As I pull it up, I'm looking to make sure that I like my print. And I do. It's nice and clear. I don't have any edges that didn't make a clear print. So I'm going to get my dryer again. And because it's chalk, it dries really quickly. And it doesn't have to be 100% dry. I just want it to kind of have the top layer dry, so it's not going to cause me any problems. Alright, so when I peeled it up, I peeled up my H a little bit, so I want to put that back down. Make sure my silk screen has a good contact and there's no air bubbles. It looks like there's a little bit of an air bubble, so I'm going to lift it up. Where I lifted it up down here, I had to lift it up past the words. So I want to grab hold of my transfer, and I want to make sure I pull both sides of the bottom. I don't want to pull a corner. The silk transfer is flexible, which means it also can it can stretch. So you don't want to stretch your transfer. You want it to stay true so that everything stays lined up every time you use it. So I'm just pushing my transfer back down, making great contact. Good morning, Sally. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. If I don't see them, I will come back and answer your questions later. All right. So I'm going to use the teal for the words. And as you can see, I haven't used my teal in a while. When you add water, I do see that usually the color separates a little bit, but it will mix right back in. So I'm going to mix my color. take a look at my consistency, and it looks a little thick. So I'm going to mix that color back in, make sure I've mixed it all around. And I'll add a little bit of distilled water. We use distilled water because chalk is a natural product, and if I use tap water, the impurities in that might cause my chalk to mold, and the distilled water keeps that from being a problem. And I don't know if it's the impurities in the water. Our water's pretty good, but distilled water keeps mold from growing, from what I understand. All right, so I'm just going to mix that up. Again, you want to see that this was not nearly as dry as the storm. So you can see I'm just about to that ribbon quality where it's running in a ribbon. Some colors just naturally seem to keep that consistency, and I'm not sure why. Probably add just a little more squirt, then I think we'll be ready to go. All right, here we go. Add some color. Get it ready. Grab a clean squeegee and just wipe it on there. I think this is a very timely print. Hope anchors the soul. I think about what's going on around us, and I think we all have to have hope. Hope is what keeps me going, and whether we know it or not, I think hope keeps us all going. We all have to have hope for the future, something to look forward to. We have to have hope for our families and friends. And I know that means different things to different people. For me, it's my faith that gives me my hope. I know for some people, they have hope in other things. Okay, so now I've covered all my spots. I want to make sure that I am pulling up as much of that chalk as I can. I want to leave some on the silkscreen, of course, but just a nice removal of the extra chalk. So this is chalk paste, so it works well on wood. You can use it on paper. The chalk can be used on a lot of surfaces. It can be used on like fabric, but it won't be permanent. If you want your chalk or your design to be permanent on fabric, you want to use our inks. Our inks are permanent. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. As I lift it up, I'm going to watch and see if I see any spots that look like I need a little touch up. And I see this loop in the L. I probably just didn't get enough chalk on it. So I'm going to add that. This is the best part, the big reveal. As you pull it up, you can see, and I'm sorry my arm is going to be in the way. All right, get a nice print. Okay, and my transfer is reusable. I can use it 8 to 12 times. Maybe even more if I'm really careful with it. The longevity really depends on how well you take care of the transfer, how well you clean it. If you keep your silk screen clean and happy, then it will last a lot longer. So I've put it right into a pan of water. I just have my little Pyrex dish over here. Just water is what cleans it. It's very easy to clean up. You just use your fingers. We do have a board eraser that's kind of like a microfiber cleaner. Okay, so what do you guys think? How's that crisp print. I just absolutely love that part of the project. So what I did at the beginning of the project this morning was I showed you a couple of embellishments that I created. Because when I looked at it, I thought maybe we were going to want something, something more on it. Oh, let's see. Somebody's made a comment. I'm going to check. Yeah, definitely. For me, Jesus is my anchor, no doubt. But my thought was we might want something like a nautical embellishment on this to go with this anchor. So if you weren't here at the beginning of when I started, I made these little knots out of just jute cord. So I was thinking that we could, if we thought it needed it, we could add a little bit of an embellishment to this part of the frame. I don't know. I almost think it doesn't need it. I think it could stand on its own. I guess it depends on your decor. If you like more, then you might want to add something like that. I made a long piece as well to see what it would look like if it was running along the side. What do you guys think? If this was in your house, would you want a little bit more embellishment? Would you want it to look more nautical? Does it look more nautical with this, or does it not really need it? What do you guys vote? Why don't you guys give me a thumbs up if you think it... Rita says she likes it without. I think I do too. I thought I was going to want some embellishment, but I think I really kind of like that stark look. Does anybody say, yeah, they would probably put it on theirs? Or does everybody pretty much say, yeah, I don't think you need it? Well, if you don't use this little embellishment for this piece, something else I was thinking that you could do, if you had a little candle holder, like a glass. I thought it might be cute if you have a nautical theme. You could just wrap this right around your vase, and it might be kind of a cool, if I had a nautical theme, it would look great with the jute. Yeah, I agree. I think like my older daughter, her house, she has nautical stuff, so this might be good. Oh, Alicia says the kids want embellishment. Oh, they like more. Definitely, they are more kids. So if I was going to do that, I think I would use my low heat hot glue gun, a low temp one, and just tack it in a couple of places so that it wouldn't damage my frame, and I could probably just pull it right off. If you guys are interested in any of the products, we do have a couple of things that I want to show you that I think more of you might be able to use. I showed you guys the back to school one that we did. This is one that I just got. Rita, it says she's asking if it will hang on the wall or if it will be in a stand. This one I think would hang on the wall because it's so big. It is like, the whole frame is like 24 by 18. So I think I would probably hang this one on the wall. I know Hannah really wants this one. My Hannah really wants this this print. I think that makes a difference too, Rita. If it was a smaller, I think maybe the embellishments would be nice. Now that you're saying that, I think, but if it's on the wall, I don't think the embellishments maybe are needed. Or maybe you think the other way. But I wanted to show you this one. I'll be making something of this soon. So this is one of those baby charts. You know how moms are taking pictures of their babies like every month. There are all kinds of different things. There are all the numbers, all the months in a nice script. So you can say 5 months. You've got a little banner you can use, or some cute little baby types of embellishments. Oh, Rita's wondering if it might need a jute hanger. That's true. This one, I'll show you the back of this frame. This frame does come with, it is ready to go. So this is one of our Chalk Couture frames. Obviously you can use any kind of frame that you want or you have. This one does come with the sawtooth hanger to go either direction. So it's got two if you hang it on the long side, and it's got one hanger if you hang it on the short side. But you definitely could add, it's sturdy enough you could probably staple right into the frame on the back. A jute hanger might be cool. Yeah. It would make it not look so formal. I think maybe that's why I thought it might need some embellishment, because it looks kind of formal. But I couldn't decide if I wanted formal or less formal. So anyway, I will be working on a project this week sometime to show you how this one looks. Obviously, I know you guys have all seen the little blankets that new moms are using and all different kinds of things. But you could also just, you could use these months. If you guys have seen those boards where they make your family's birthdays, you could use this to make something like that because it has all the months. Lots of fun baby things. I love. So it's definitely set up to do one of those cool chalkboards that has all the baby things on it. So I thought you guys might like that. If you haven't gone to chalkcouture.com, go take a look. There are so many different transfers. We do tend to run out of certain things that are popular, but they will restock them. So I can let you know if you're looking for something in particular and you can't find it. Let me know and I'll look it up and see if we have something in particular. Or if you know something is out of stock and you want to know when it will come back in, I can find that out for you. So we have a page that tells us when things will be back in stock. I don't know if you guys can see that or not as a customer. So anyway, I hope you liked today's project. It was really fun to make, and it was fun having you guys here and interact with me and ask questions and visit about it. If you want to see how I made these, they're at the beginning of the video, so just go to the beginning and take a quick look. Anyway, I hope you guys have an awesome day. Thanks, Rita. I'm glad you like it. I love it. I love the colors. I love the board. I really like everything about it. So thanks for joining me, and it was nice to have you guys. Make it a great day, guys. Take care.